Hi everybody and welcome back to Simply Strength in the Masters of MGTOW series. Firstly, allow me to apologise for my hiatus of sorts. My life does get in the way sometimes, and I'd like to thank you for bearing with me. Today's video examines another paragon, another master of the MGTOW mindset, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's legendary consulting detective Sherlock Holmes. I'll begin with an introduction and character outline. I've recently been watching the eponymous, modernised BBC television series starring Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. It's well worth a watch, depending on its accessibility, of course. I know a lot of you are in the United States, Canada and elsewhere, and in my opinion it's one of the best things the BBC has put out. I've not yet read the books in their entirety or seen the earlier film variants, but I've been intrigued enough with Benedict's portrayal of the character to notice several aspects that encapsulate the MGTOW mindset and related concepts. There'll be some spoilers here at times, so if you're not up to date with this series, then please go and watch it before returning. But with that out of the way, let's begin. In this series, we are introduced to Sherlock as a young man that lives alone, but he is openly looking for a flatmate. He possesses extraordinary powers of deduction and high intelligence, but very poor social skills. His interactions with other people are generally amusing, and he could be said to treat others around him with a level of disdain. He perceives them to be below him in both intelligence and endeavour. With that said, Sherlock is oblivious of facts that most people would consider common knowledge, such as the fact that the Earth orbits the Sun. He rationalises this by saying that, quote, ordinary people fill their heads with all kinds of rubbish, and that makes it hard to get at the stuff that matters, do you see? All that matters to me is the work. Without that, my brain rots. This outlook is further supported by a quote from a study in Scholar. I consider that a man's brain originally is like a little empty attic, and you have to stock it with furniture as you choose. A fool takes in all the lumber of every sort that he comes across, so that the knowledge which might be useful to him gets crowded out, or at best is jumbled up with a lot of other things, so that he has difficulty in laying his hands upon it. Now the skillful workman is very careful indeed as to what he takes into his brain attic. He will have nothing but the tools which may help him in doing his work, but of these he has a large assortment, and all in the most perfect order. It is a mistake to think that that little room has elastic walls and can distend to any extent. Depend upon it, there comes a time when for every addition of knowledge you forget something that you knew before. It is of the highest importance, therefore, not to have useless facts elbowing out the useful ones. Thus, whilst Sherlock is blissfully ignorant of facts that don't have any particular relevance to his own immediate existence, he fills his head with information that will assist him in his work as a consulting detective, the only one in the world. In this self-created position, Sherlock assists Scotland Yard with their investigations when they get out of their depth. Using his tremendous powers of deduction and analytical thinking, he appears to possess genius-level prowess at solving crimes from minute details. Sherlock conceives that his brother Mycroft is his intellectual superior, although Mycroft asserts that Sherlock is comparable to a scholar or philosopher. Both of them have a complex and multifaceted relationship, including aspects of sibling rivalry compounded by mutual contempt and respect. Sherlock has extremely poor people skills and is ill-mannered towards almost everyone he encounters. He values the crimes more than the victims involved and is not very compassionate to them. He is inconsiderate of everyone, including Dr. John Watson, his closest friend and ally. However, as the series progresses, he is shown to care deeply for him, showing uncharacteristic emotion at times. I'll now discuss Sherlock's relationships and views on marriage. During the series to date, Sherlock has received many questions about his relationship status, firstly from John and then from others in his albeit small social circle. He responds by saying that he is married to his work and is seen to live a largely asexual existence. He is oblivious of the attraction that 31-year-old pathologist Molly Hooper has for him and uses her infatuation with him to gain access to the lab and examine victims' bodies. Sherlock is dismissive of her affections for him. Upon meeting the attractive professional dominatrix Irene Adler, who betters Sherlock on occasion, he is resistant to her charms but gives her the honour of simply referring to her as the woman. Irene falls in love with him, which ultimately proves to be her downfall. However, Sherlock assists in her escape by helping her fake her own death. Sherlock has openly antagonistic views towards marriage, and this has particular relevance at John and Mary's wedding, at which Sherlock is appointed best man. Sherlock has a conversation with the landlady Mrs. Hudson, and it goes as follows. Mrs. Hudson: so it's the big day then? What big day? The wedding. John and Mary are getting married. Two people who currently live together are about to attend church, have a party, go on a short holiday, and then carry on living together. What's big about that? It changes people, marriage. No, it doesn't. Well, you wouldn't understand because you always live alone. Your husband was executed for double murder. You're hardly an advert for companionship. Marriage changes you as a person in ways that you can't imagine, as does lethal injection. And this was an amusing interlude that Sherlock had with his landlady, Mrs. Hudson. And there is also a blog that's simply called the Sherlock blog, and I've included a link to it. And they did a very nice article called Psyching Sherlock, Married to His Work, which is worth a read, preferably after you've watched the series to date. And a good point that they make in the article is that Sherlock is not asexual in a sense. He does tend to look at the stars and sees their beauty. He just doesn't clutter up his mind with irrelevant facts about them. He can appreciate a woman, but he's unwilling to become drawn in by such a mundane thing as sexual attraction, as it might lead to feelings of love, which he says is a much more vicious motivator. Love whose chemistry is incredibly simple and very destructive, and Sherlock assumes a dangerous disadvantage. So that's a quote from the blog article that I thought was quite insightful. Which brings me on to the personal development aspects of his character, so the relevance to, in a sense, MGTOW, lifestyle and personal development. What can we take from Sherlock with regards to these areas, and what can we leave behind? Well, firstly, Sherlock appears to have expertise in many disciplines of science, including anatomy, physiology and chemistry, amongst others. He also has extensive knowledge of the London transport system and road network, and almost photographic memory. His passion for his work and the fact that he's extremely annoying when he doesn't have a case serve to highlight the importance of enthusiasm and drive to get what you want in life. Sherlock is unashamedly absorbed in his job and loves the thrill of the chase. And the fact that he's created his own profession, his own job, links in almost to the non-job revolution that Elliot Hulse has spoken about on his channel, and I see parallels there. We can say that in terms of positive aspects that we might draw upon from Sherlock's character are his antagonism towards marriage and relationships, or particularly love, because it consumes energy and time and resources that might better be put into career or profession. And there's a reason that Sherlock is so good at what he does, and he displays almost genius level intellect and powers of deduction that astound everybody that witnesses them. But the parts that we can leave behind, obviously Sherlock's social skills, they do develop over the course of the series, but in terms of the way he treats the people that are close to him within his small social circle, we want to leave that behind. But as I say, there are a lot of elements that we can draw from his character that we could perhaps internalize and then, draw upon, learn from, and use as a driving force in our own lives. So that's what I take from his character, is his obsession with his job and constant drive to be the best, almost. And I see that as a good thing to take from the series. So I hope you enjoyed my comments on the series, and I do think that you should go and watch the series for yourself and form your own opinions on it, and putting down some discussion points. I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you again next time.